These two games are some of the most well-crafted gameplay experiences you can play on the market right now. The perfect mix of parkour and combat with the great world Techland established here is something that I truly believe everyone should try. This video comes from a place of love for this franchise. Love that I'm sure many more people who play the games feel as well. Techland. They're a Polish game developer founded in 1991, most known for the Call of Juarez franchise, Dead Island, and, of course, Dying Light. Dying Light itself came about after many disagreements Techland had with their former publisher, Deep Silver, which Techland wound up splitting with in order to make the game that they really wanted to make. Hence, we got the first game in the franchise. Dying Light is an interesting case study. It's set entirely in the fictional city of Haran, and the team took great care to make the city feel realistic. They even had a qualified architect on board who wrote the city's entire history from its beginning to the outbreak. And, of course, we had the most famous feature in the game, the day-night cycle, where by day, the zombies are little puny liberal bitches, and you are the Giga Chad ready to destroy them with facts and logic. Just try not to lose it and scream in anger like we usually do. But, once night falls, you become the liberal with the useless arts degrees, and every zombie around comes to rip you a new one. The game itself also featured one of the best parkour systems that has yet been unmatched by any game except Mirror's Edge in the industry. In any case, on the 27th of January 2015, Dying Light was released for everyone to enjoy. The gameplay from the game borrows a ton from its spiritual predecessor, Dead Island. It's a hack and slash game. You use hammers, knives, machetes, swords, bats, and pipes. Oh my! It's simple, but effective. In the halfway point, you gain access to guns in the game, which feel incredible after hours and hours of fighting bandits that block nearly all of your attacks, and zombies that are complete hit sponges. However, what serves to support the rather standard combat mechanics is an absolutely excellent progression system, where, depending on how many times you hit something, you gain a certain amount of points that you then can put into upgrading your character with actually meaningful choices. Almost all of the skills you gain are active abilities, rather than passive modifiers, which helps the gameplay immensely. And of course, you have the S-tier day-night system. I genuinely can't get over how fun all of these mechanics make the game. This, compounded with an excellent ragdoll system for the zombies and survivors, makes the whole experience absolutely incredible. And in fact, it also feels that the regular Biter AI is purposefully stupid enough to further showcase it. Sometimes zombies will literally fall to their death trying to get to you, or because the nav mesh simply told them to walk to the edge. This mini sandbox of destruction that the game has available for you is the shit. It is the reason why this game has slowly gathered fans over time, and it is why over 200,000 people bought its sequel on Steam. Oh yeah, and there is also Be the Zombie mode. I'll admit, this mode, however, makes me sad. I'll explain. The mode is incredibly unique in its design. A zombie player can invade a human player's live game every nightfall. Happens, human players must then destroy 5 zombie nests before losing 10 of their lives. Awesome! However, Beat the Zombie has several problems that make the overall experience worse for everyone. This game has been broken and unbroken repeatedly by modders. When I first played this game back in 2017, the first player to join my public session was a modder that gave me an overpowered melee weapon. While I enjoyed it at the time, I definitely do see that it broke the gameplay loop. From what I can still remember, that modder simply had the ability to spawn weapons and items, but I have seen dozens of other modders with far worse abilities. I don't take any offense to them in the PvE space. The zombie NPCs are indeed meant to be abused. But in a competitive online mode, where you're fighting another player, why? Or just why use dev menus? And it isn't just one or two modders, it is every other game I play. I've had modders auto-killing me, auto-killing nests, cancelling pounces, breaking my game by spawning in too many NPCs, god-moding themselves, god-moding allies. I even remember a modder who accidentally god-moded zombies because the dumbass didn't know how to use the dev menu he had. Hackers and modders are everywhere, not just in this mode, but the entire game. And I'll admit, I'm not innocent in this. If you see a certain 3-year-old video of mine that somehow exploded, you'll notice I'm using infinite ammo guns and one-hit kill melee weapons. I don't regret using them, as in BTZ mode. They do a normal amount of damage to nests, and I got bored of the guns insanely quickly. But in hindsight, I would not have used those weapons for the video. Hacking has destroyed this mode. I used to love playing as a zombie, but honestly, now when I play the game, I usually do so as a human player, and I have night invasions on, so I can at least give a fun match to the odd zombie player. And I completely ignore beat the zombie mode beyond that, as nowadays I'm more likely to get frustrated and angered than have fun with it. It's a damn shame that Techland never did anything about these dev menus, as they genuinely harm the game to this fucking day. This is going to be a rather short section, also because I don't blame these folks. They're new, they're still learning what the game is, but just think about this. When you find a good match, it's exhilarating. It feels almost like a thriller action scene from some movie on how well things can flow. And the rain and the music when you're down to the final nest for life, it's incredible. 70% of the time though, you meet a hacker that automatically wins the game. The other 30%, they either hide in a safe zone because they have no idea what the mode is, or they quit the game, or never use the UV light, making the entire match an XP farm rather than an intense fight for survival. For every one survivor that genuinely wants to fight you, there are 5 scared survivors and 10 hackers. Yay! And what does it look like? Bad. It's pretty bad. I've already done this video's tonal shift, so you probably could have guessed that. Let's start from the beginning. You or Kyle Train, a GRE operative sent into Haran, a city which is in quarantine from the rest of the world due to the zombie outbreak there. And things go about as well as you can expect. Bandits beat the shit out of you, you're bitten, and then saved by Miss Attractive Brand. But honestly, the story is serviceable enough at the beginning. It's focused on the infected and surviving the apocalypse. You go around trying to do supply runs and helping other survivors. I actually quite like it. And of course, we have the airdrop quest. The most iconic quest of the franchise. Oh my god, I'm gonna shit my pants. This shit is the shit. However, problems start the moment we meet this guy, Rice. This generic brand antagonist is in the story to annoy the shit out of you. I swear to God, when you finally kill him, there is a sense of satisfaction, not that you've made the world better or worse, but that you don't have to listen to that dumbass speak anymore. Literally, every time he is on screen, he either says you're not a man, does generic bad guy things, or create plot holes. I'm not kidding. The first time he's on screen, he chops a man's hand off, as you do, and then threatens you. Other times he goes off on how the protagonist is not a man for some reason, and he constantly abuses his own man, and there's even a line at the halfway point that literally breaks the story. I'll explain. The GRE tell you they have established a citywide jam to keep Rise from contacting people outside of the city. So, you can guess that people can call other people who are even outside certain sectors of the city. Seems simple, right? Those GRE folk are level-headed conservative geniuses, I see. Well, no. There's one tossed off line of Rise going, "Oh yeah, I broke the connection between sectors." How? How does one man with limited resources affect radio waves? And this dissonance isn't just found with the antagonist. Kyle Truck, our protagonist, has similar issues. Kyle, not called by his first name Crane, is trained by the GRE, a vague evil company who sends him into Haran to recover a MacGuffin. However, he turns against his employer at the drop of a hat. Weird, but fine. Hire better employees use smooth-brained suits. However, he soon is forced to work for Rise, and we see his complete lack of a personality shine through completely here. 1 second, he threatens an old man, and the next, he is profusely apologizing for his behavior. I get that's not what he wants to do, but it also doesn't help anyone, and it is the exact opposite of good writing. These 2 lines of dialogue of "give me money or I'm torturing you," followed by "I'm so sorry, I'm not like this," does nothing but tell the player, "See, you're a good guy. Kyle Volkswagen doesn't want to do this." Kyle Crane is a man with no personality, and who seemingly has conflicting motives, but upon closer inspection, he just exposits objectives for the player and assurances that they are the good guy. Why couldn't we have been a royal GRE operative? Let the player think they're playing the good guy part, and then slowly pull the rug under our eyes as we have to manipulate and lie our way across the city. We don't always have to be the good guy or be doing good by everyone around us. You know, in Dead Space, 90% of the time in that game, and the second one, you're actually helping the marker, not escaping the Ishimura. Same for the second game. You are helping the marker start the convergence event that will bring us yet another Brethren Moon. In The Last of Us 1, you doomed the world to living in a perpetual apocalypse. And in The Last of Us 2, you're killing hundreds of innocent people that have nothing to do with Abby. Why couldn't we do bad things in Dying Light? If we're an operative to the GRE, we could have stayed loyal to them and used the survivors for an advantage, all under the guise of being for the greater good. Dying Light's plot failed. While it does enough to keep you entertained throughout, it honestly leaves me disappointed. It could have been a hell of a lot better than what we got. It sucks, especially because the world building is so much better. Clues about symptoms of the virus are scattered throughout the game, and the side quests have noticeably better plots than the main game. Some of them are even my favorite. Yet they also highlight the complete lack of personality or motive of Kyle Crane. As there is one quest where Kyle literally tries to leave the city that has the survivor he somehow wants to help out. It's a story that just doesn't work with a world that demands a better story with how interesting the Haran virus is. And yet, Techland did have another chance with an expansion that came out nearly 1 year after the main game, called The Following. I won't talk about it much as this video is focused on the main games, but The Following's plot is genuinely good. Your friends are running out of antizin, and you hear of a locked off part of the quarantine that has people that never turn. That is unique, and the dialogue is much better. The antagonist is also much better than Rice. She has a legitimate reason to want to destroy the city, and you yourself, or even given a choice whether you agree with her or not, with an actually cool boss fight rather than just pressing 6 buttons to win. But Techland was aware of the main game's fault, and in 2018 they announced Dying Light 2, promising to improve everything, from the story to the gameplay to the game systems. However, in 2020, Dying Light 2 was indefinitely delayed. While this happened to just about every game that year, it was clear that Dying Light 2 was suffering heavily from behind-the-scenes troubles. Chris Avallone, the lead writer, was fired, and most of his work scrapped. Management was a giant mess, according to reports, and when the game finally resurfaced, everyone was excited. But the game we were seeing was clearly not the same game we had been shown prior to that delay. No longer was Techland talking about multiple factions that could impact the world. They were talking about 3: the survivors, renegades, and peacekeepers. All different shades of crazy. Like before, let's start with the gameplay. It's great, actually. Honestly, it's much better than the first game on so many levels, which already was pretty good. Combat has been redesigned with fighting people in mind, and I quite like it. You're punished for going in trying to hack everything that moves apart. You have to think and choose what you're going to do, and you have plenty of options. Grappling hook, drop kick, swing, throw stuff, or people around. Now more than ever, the world is your playground. But while the player controller is more robust and pleasantly complex than ever before, the systems that made the first game's standard combat and movement excellent are much weaker here. Let's start with the ragdoll system and the zombie AI. It's worse. While before you could see zombies wandering around and falling from buildings at random, now they're completely still until you aggro them. This makes the world feel a whole lot more static and less like a destroyed city and more a playground. Furthermore, the excellent ragdoll system has been completely neutered and replaced with a clunkier animation system, which even that was completely broken at release and remains somewhat broken. So, instead of zombies ragdolling when they should, a lot of the times they will simply trigger an animation of either bouncing off a wall or climbing a ledge. It's worse and makes the game feel a whole lot more dated than it actually is. The night system. This system is a core part of the franchise. Honestly, if volatiles in the day-night cycle were not here, I doubt this franchise would be as revered as it is today. And likewise, it has been completely revamped from the first game, with some quests even demanding you go out at night, and in general providing you, the player, with a lot more reasons to venture out into the darkness. Their stores are riddled with zombies during the day, and many actually engaging activities that are only available at night. I'll talk more about them and explain why, despite being fun, I think of them as a symptom of the lack of identity this game has later. I'm still talking about the night system for now. Despite those activities, however, one really important part of the night experience to this fucking day remains neutered: the chases. In the first game, I'm level 250 with over 700 hours of playtime on this game, and I find it really hard to make it to level 4 chases without dying. It's scary and it's fun. In Dying Light 2, I'm at level 60 and I'm chasing after volatiles in order to keep the stellar chase music playing. I'm stressed out only because I want the chase to keep going, and I'm trying desperately to keep it going. And this was after the night update that they made, where apparently chases were improved. I quite enjoy the hospitals and the monopolies, but my god, they are repeated endlessly. It's like a damn Ubisoft game. I feel for the developers behind this game. They doubtlessly had tons of passion for their work. Passion that was probably snuffed out by an overbearing CEO who saw that Far Cry 5 made tons of money among Johnny Gamer, and so wanted repeated activities and markers all over the map. Haran has great atmosphere. The sound design was great. Those thunderstorms, even today, they give me a goddamn orgasm whenever they show up. The feeling of an abandoned city that is just hanging on by a thread. Villador has people cosplaying as medieval peasants, militarized police officers, and the color green everywhere. This ties back into cut content. We heard relentlessly throughout the pre-2020 marketing and post-2020 marketing the tagline of the modern Dark Ages. But when playing this, you see that was just marketing spiel and cut out of the game entirely. Things don't feel like they're bad. Civilization is thriving, you've got schools, plenty of kids, and a significant amount of culture among the survivors. Even in story sequences, you get the feeling that things are fine. Yes, you've got city-ending stakes in the personal story, but there isn't much of a tragic element to this world, something which I feel it sorely lacks. And oh boy, let's talk about it. Let's have a chat about the story. I actually like it. I especially love Barney. He's a bro. And Waltz, my goodness, what a well-written villain. I especially love it when he says the game's entire fucking name during a sequence. Obviously, I'm joking. It's bad. The story's bad. It's worse at times than the first game. Let's start with Aiden Caldwell. This man has no personality. Again. But he does have a consistent motive throughout, at least. He wants to find his sister, and everything he does is in service to that. I do like that there is consistency with his motives in the side quests. Most prevalent early on, though. They're either side activities that don't revolve around him leaving Villador for some fucking reason, or actually side missions where he follows a lead to find Waltz. Generic dialogue, man. Oh yeah, and Waltz, this fucking guy, he just teases you constantly. Spoiler warning for the whole video, but especially this part. Throughout the entire game, he either tries to kill you or brutally murders and guts innocent people. He also has an army of juiced up psychopaths whose sole character detail is they're more violent than Rice's thugs. And then you got the ending. Nope. Suddenly, he's a good guy who's trying to find a cure and save his daughter. The leaps in logic for the plot are just incredible and just too many to count. Hakon, throughout this game, is the one bright spot in the game. Genuinely, he's a likable and well-written character, and I actually wanted him not to die either, than just look at him with pure apathy. Rosario Dawson also tries and succeeds somewhat with Rowan, but honestly, the plot fails her completely. There is just so much about this plot that I hate, and you can see so well the chaos the team suffered. Did you know that the demo showcased in 2019 was the second to last hour of the game? Yeah, I'm not kidding. And the final point on the shit story train we have is the choices. There are none. The ending cutscene barely talks about the decisions you made, besides PK Renegade or Survivor Controlled City, and that's it. In several side quests, you can make a final decision on what happens, which changes nothing at the end. And there isn't even an ending side like saying, oh, you stayed with Grandma for a bit and listened to her story. She was happy with that. There's nothing. None of the branching paths that Chris Avalon's writing was sure to bring. None of it. The sequel's gameplay is fantastic. Honestly, I'd put it higher than the first game actually. It is to the point that I'm sad I can't wall run or do any of the other cool moves the second game has that the first game does not have. It is genuine innovation for the franchise. But the story, And those endlessly repeated activities make the game worse. And worst of all, it also makes it feel like the game has no heart, no passion in it, when I know for a fact that is a lie. Recently, microtransactions were added into the game. And now, I look at the game and I see Far Cry 5 or Watch Dogs 2, Grand Theft Auto Online, or fucking insert AAA action game. I see a AAA blob, not a great parkour hack and slash game with a unique feel. It's a game where I have tons of fun in, where when I'm running around the world or fighting bandits, I'm engaged and I'm thinking. But when I fight an anomaly, explore a hospital, or do a story quest, I'm dragged out of the game. Even the atmosphere, which was great in the first game, is weakened somewhat here, with the only noticeable bit of sound design that they do is muffling music when entering a dark zone. The Dying Light franchise is great, and you should try it. But it's a franchise that I feel has never really reached its full potential. It has tried, goodness it has, but it failed. Maybe it can reach it in a third game, but even with constantly updating and switching to a live service model to fix these issues, it won't achieve it in Dying Light 2. I am one of many terminal illness gamers who consider games to be an art form from both a storytelling perspective and a technical perspective. And the gameplay of these games are genuinely at that level, at that technical level. And they're finely crafted experiences. Power trips where if you make a mistake in combat, you'll suffer for it, but never to a degree you feel like you can fix. But my god, the story is the worst thing ever. Thanks for watching.